Hi guys, how are you? How am I? I'm awesome. Welcome back to this channel. If you are a veteran, karibu sana. If you are new, don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you love books, if you love a bit of crafting, a bit of craziness and poetry and naked people walking in the house. On to serious matters. The gist of this video is to wrap up the month of September, which I managed to read 11 books, 9 from Kenya, given that September is a month dedicated to reading books back from home, but I did manage to finish off 2 international books. Without much further ado, let's do this, making it short, sweet. And I give it short and sweet. Okay, the first book I managed to read is The Broken Window by Jeffrey Deaver. This is part of the Lincoln Rhymes series. I think it's book 5. I've read book 1. I've read book, I believe it's book 3. And then this is book 5. You can read the books as a standalone. At least the author does the job of giving us a bit of background knowledge for our characters. And if you're looking for a book that has quadriplegic representation, this one does it very well. You get to see this man who's coming to terms with being quadriplegic after he was born well-abled working man. You get to see how his mental health is affected by these new changes and also how others react to this new state of him. And aside from that, you get to see a bit of thrill and discover this human nature that makes people want to inflict pain on others. This one follows a man who is quite proficient with the computer and utilizes that to target his victims. To see Lincoln Rhymes at his best, and we also see him being fleshed out. The first book that I read and the third one didn't talk about his history that much, but this one goes in deeper and makes him more a well-abled, fleshed out character that I really enjoyed. And I had an amazing time. It had me questioning some of the things that I do on the net, because you all know that whatever you post on the net doesn't vanish like we assume when we delete something. And it made me want to, reinforce some things about the way I utilize the net, the safety measures. And I recommend somebody to read this as part of the series or the standalone. The series is mwah. If you have watched the TV show, you know what I'm talking about. Now the books make it even more better. And yes, you can read them at the standalone. You don't have to commit. Try him. He is really good. The next book that I read was Book of the Dead by Patricia Cornwell. This is also a part of a series. I will advise against reading this as a standalone, as I am quite proficient with this series. And also I haven't read the books in serial order, but I can tell you that some of the things that do go on in the character's life are expounded in other books, that even the author, as much as they try to fill us in on some of the things, you will feel like some things are missing. Yes, you can read it and enjoy most parts of the book, but there will still be something that doesn't make sense. And this is coming from a pro when it comes to this series. But overall, I enjoyed this book. This author goes in depth to look at how mental health affects people and how our homes and this nature versus nurture things affect the kind of kids that we raise. This one was really crazy. We have this doctor called Dr. Self, claims to be a psychiatrist, but from what I'm reading, she is quite toxic and ends up with a man who was just out there to have fun with her, and in the process they had a byproduct who is quite diabolical. There's a bit of forensic lingo, but not so much to deter you from enjoying the book. And was it thrilling? To some extent. I think from the series, the book that I really loved was Port Mortuary. What was it? Postmortem. No, it was a postmortem. From Potter's Field, because it was so thrilling. It didn't have so much about these characters, it was more about the plot. But in this book, I felt like it was more character driven than plot driven. It still had the satisfaction of thrill, but should you read it as a standalone? I wouldn't advise it. If you want to commit, you can start the series from book one. Book one wasn't that gripping, but the rest of the series to some point were quite good, and then some of them, this later series, were a bit something became diluted, but I still enjoyed them. I am a fan. The next book that I read in the month of September was Whisper in the Jungle. If you want to get more in-depth analysis of this book, I made a reading vlog. Please go watch it. But overall, this book felt like an ode to the Kikuyu community and traditions, and this thing of tradition versus the modern world, because some of us, we are letting go of traditions that we used to do. Okay, somewhat detrimental, like, female circumcision. That one we wholly want to leave it behind. But some as transition of a boy to a man, the circumcision, we really welcome that, because it really helps root these people with values that will help them in this world, reminding them of where they come from, and that will make them a more upright person as a whole. And we get to see how the Kikuyu and their folklores and their stories of how they came. You get to see their way of life, though there's some things that even some characters question, like, should we really force some things on people? Can't people just given the choice to choose, because it is better to choose than being forced? That makes things so much easier. But I had so much fun. I went in expect so much thrill. That was a bit missing, but the story is fluid. I feel like the young ones will really enjoy and be impacted by this, because they're still at the formative age. They can still instill and become part of them, and it will impact them so well. Also for adults, it will remind them of where they come from and the importance of remembering and even taking part of some of these traditions, because we need to be grounded in who we are and where we come from. So yeah, this was really good. The next book is The Havoc of Choice by Wanjiru Koinange. Also made a reading vlog on this if you want to see or hear and experience my full depth about this book. But overall, it's a political inspired book where we follow a family and see the effects of politics on it. Aside from that, there's this commentary on mental health for our police especially, and how they're treated. There's also a bit of the friendship theme that is explored. We get to see how Kavata's friend and also their friend Anne helps them through a rough time in their marriage between Kavata and Guki. We also get to see, coming of age. You get to see Wanja from a child to this place where she is so confident and proficient as a political, let me say tool, but beware, political. And we get to see how the family affects the choices that she makes. Overall, this book is about the choices that we make and all the after effects that we cause, especially the negative ones. It as much as it focuses on this family, we also get to see the rest of the citizens' choices that made us, take a panga to our neighbors and all. I love this book. It has its flaw, a bit of its flaws, just a bit that will not even take you away from the book. I love the book. I love what it's trying to say. I love the fact that it has opened up conversations to things that I feel sometimes we have really brushed under the rug, and I feel that we haven't let go of them. And yeah, should you read it? That's the decision that you yourself will make. But I will advocate, but be warned for trigger warnings for rape, violence, brutality, and there's a scene that really broke me, that church massacre. Oof. So beware of those triggers. The next two books are poetry. They were reread. I love these books. The one thing that I can really attest to the bookish industry in Kenya is that our poets are really good, and for most of them. The first book is Many Fragile Things by Victoria Ngujiri. This book talks about healing. It talks about stepping into your power. It touches on family, also our relationship with God and our relationship with the environment and the universe as a whole. I find the book so wholesome and uplifting. And I actually read it in 2 sittings. The first time I read it in 1 sitting. This time I just wanted to take it slow so that I could sip so much of its power. And yes, this is one I will really recommend. And it has beautiful illustrations. As in, the quality of this book is really worth your time and the money. The next book is When We Speak, a book by Rafiki, a conglomerate of young artists, writers, poets who formed a body to help writers and these poets to publish the book not quite easily, but in a more fluid, streamlined way, because publishing, because it's the pancakes that I ate, because publishing in Kenya is a bit tough. So they formed the body Rafiki, and I love them for them. They inspire me. It talks and speaks for everyone. It has poems on politics. It has poems on love, heartbreak, loss. Even COVID-19 is mentioned here. It talks about, addiction to social media. It talks about death. It talks about positive body representation. It's just rich and full. And that's the thing I'm coming to love more about anthology, especially poetry anthology. It means you get to be served different writing style, different themes, even same themes, but in a different perspective from different people. And that is so enriching, and I will highly recommend this book. You can find, I don't know if this is at Nuria, but I think this one and the rest of books from Kenya, you can find them at Nuria. And the next book is a children's book. It's Life's Little Magical Formulas. These books, they're going to Masai Mara, so let them go. This book uses the big 5 animals from Kenya, yeah? Buffalo, elephant, giraffe is just like an MC introducing these people. There's a lion and there's leopard, and I don't know if that is the big 5, but that is the premise, and it's set in the Masai Mara. It's each of the 5 individual characters has a lesson to teach your child, and I find them so deep and so impactful, because we are being taught how to be grateful. We are being taught to believe in ourselves despite whatever is happening all around us. We're taught perseverance, generosity, respect, and honesty. These are things I feel like are very detrimental, especially when you're trying to raise a small child. And I feel that with these qualities, they will have a better chance in this world. And the illustrations and everything about this book is so intentional. We had a conversation with the author, and she was like, yeah, even the small ribbons you see on the buffalo have meaning. And I love books that put so much into them. And this makes a very wholesome read for you and your child. So yes, go grab it. The next book, and this was the highlight of the month. I wasn't expecting to be surprised and entertained by this book the way I was. I had received it some time back, and because I felt like I wasn't in the right mental space to read this book, I did put it aside. But finally, I got the courage to pick it up, and the book was Peer Pressure. Definitely the premise of the book really tells what the book is all about. We follow Timon. Timon is this child who has was there even a love relationship with education, more of a hate relationship with education, to the fact that at some point while he was growing up, he turned into alcohol, and this affected his outcome when it comes to education, and goes on deeper to explain what happened after the relationship with education was terminated. And I love the fact that he uses some of the lingo we use, and aka slang or aka sheng that we use in our day-to-day activities, and it felt so relatable and made it feel more like home, and had me laughing and like, yeah, that makes sense. He talks about things that are really relatable, and some of the things as a child that I did that or quite mischievous. So that one had me feeling this sense of deep nostalgia, aside from having me laugh like crazy. But even though as much as he is entertaining because it's told in the first person narration. You get to see him make snide comments about our politics, some of our way of life, some of the things that will let happen when it comes to the religious way. And you might think that the book is solely entertaining, but I feel like those comments is trying to say something about how we as Kenyans are. Sometimes we just blasé, we just let things pass. And overall, the story was fluid. It is well edited. I had an immense time with this. I expected to read it for like maybe a week, and I managed to read it in 3 sittings. So should you drop and pick up this book, I feel like you should. You'll be entertained. You learn some things about the book. And I also love the fact that as much as he uses some of this lingo, because at some point he also uses Doluo, he finds it, it doesn't translate what, let's say, there's a person he said Mbwakni or something of the sort. I stand to be corrected, and doesn't really translate it. So if you as a person wants to know what the meaning of this book, the meaning of that phrase is, you have to go Google for yourself. But there's some part he does translate it in a way that doesn't take you out of the story. And I love that. Please don't go translating things in the middle of the book. If you want to expose other people to whatever you're trying to teach us, put a glossary. Let them learn our culture by themselves. So yeah, that's why I appreciated this book so much. It was a big surprise. I also reread before. You know, I'm a fan of this Mona Mbogo's series. It's just a book that teaches a bit of softness when it comes to love. We have so much given airtime to this love that are brutal, they are hard. And here comes this book that feels like home. She also has a few Doluo lingos and some things that makes it feel so relatable to Kenya, and yet it is soft. It doesn't like glorify infidelity or some of these things or normalize them. And also you get to see these two humans with their fears and their flaws, you know, put them aside and try to form something that is just healthy and healing. I really want to continue on reading book 2 because book 1 was just soft. It gets hotter while the series goes along. So I'll advise this to be for 21 years old. Not even 18, 21 years old. But I love the fact that it feels so... It gives Kenya, or even if it's fictional, it gives us a really light, positive way to life. It will have you laughing. She also explores, aside from love, because it's interracial love, by the way, it's interracial. She also explores these things about friendship, not only the female-female friendship, but to get to see the male-female friendship, platonic friendship, and you get to judge for yourself if this is really valuable. She also explores this thing about family and also going for her dreams. And I love this series so much. You know how much I love it, you know? The next book that I read was The Leaves of May. The Leaves of May is a multi-generational book, and it follows May, Lily, and Sheche. This name is really hard. Sheche. It dates back to our not necessarily our origin, but it is set in a fictional world where there's a multi-mix of different cultures. And I can see what the author was trying to do with this book. And also this thing of colonialism, because we have this country called Angleterre. The French will get it. French-speaking people will get it. And you can see her trying to showcase the effects of colonialism and imperialism, and this thing about, you know, dominating one culture over the other, one tribe over the other. But I feel like so much of the book was talking about the politics, and a bit of it is necessary because it builds up this character. But I was expecting to see so much of these 3 women really being fleshed out. They were talked about in the book, but not enough for me to feel something relatable to them, because whatever they went through is things that people went through, my ancestors and your ancestors, if you're from African descent. And I felt like that would have created this bond with us, but it wasn't there. And also the writing style, there's some part I'm like, wow, this is beautiful. And then chapter 2 was a bit of so much going on. You know, creating a world from scratch is not easy, and I can see what she was trying to do, but I felt like there was a bit of info dumping that had me But overall, it's a profound book. Talks about our history and us coming to power and remembering our roots. So if you want to give the Leaves of May a chance, this will be your choice. Jump in, jump in, jump in. And the last book that I read from this month, which I really love, actually it's a reread, and it's a story of a young girl who feels like she is too dark, that people don't love her the way they love their sister. And I felt like this book dropped in a time where dark-skinned girls, also dark-skinned children, feel like they're not worth love, they're not beautiful. And her making this book made me just feel like home, as in, because I was someone who was also bullied for my skin color. Right now we are in a very, very good love relationship with my skin color and my body. And I feel like children who will be exposed to this book and reminded that yes, they're beautiful, that beautiful is not about the skin or the size of their clothes or the body, and that it's over here inside their hearts, will have a much easier time in this thing called life. That book was Solwe by Lupita Nyong'o. I love the illustration. Vashti Harrison knows what she is doing. She knows what she is doing. And the book is just really glorious and deep and rich. And I feel like every child, even the male, not only the females, even the males need to be told they're handsome despite their skin color, you know. Not even despite their skin color, they're handsome because of the skin color, you know. It goes in deep inside and out. And it's a rich, profound book. The illustrations are beautiful and engaging that you and the child will benefit from. You've also been reminded that you're beautiful, you know. You're beautiful. You're beautiful. Extraordinary. So overall, I read 11 books. It was quite profound. I didn't know that I will take part in the readathon and show up to it the way I did. I didn't know we will read 9 books. Most were rereads, but it's okay because I felt like I was falling into a slump, and what better way to get out of a slump than reading a book that you really loved, and especially if it's from home. It's a win-win. It's a win-win. It's a win-win situation. So hopefully you read something in the month of September. If you did, drop a comment and tell me what was your most favorite or profound book that you read in September. Did you take part in the Kenya Readathon? If you're from Kenya, did you have fun? What did you learn from it? I got to go to the Kenya Readathon event. Also, part of the vlog that I made for the Havoc of Choice. You can go watch it. And it was quite profound. We had there was this debate about language, especially the Sheng, given that it's so transformative. Is it a stable way to preserve history or tell stories? Because Sheng is something that really changes with time and different places. So I was there learning about this, and it was just beautiful. I had an amazing time, and I'm looking forward to the 5th edition of the Kenya Readathon. Otherwise, I shall stop here and wish you an amazing time. If you watched this video until this point, thank you so much for being part of this journey and being part of my community, and I hope that we'll get to interact more. Meanwhile, I do hope that you're reading more books that are giving you more pleasure to take off the pressure of life, because and until my next video, bye.